Hi everyone. So this is my second video on YouTube, and I thought it would be a good time to have a little heart to heart with everybody. So my name's Heather. I stay in a rural bit of Scotland. I live with my husband and our two boys. One is 6 and one's about to become 3. Where to start? I grew up a little bit of a difficult childhood, shall I say. I won't be touched about that in another video if anybody's interested in that. However, what I would like to, at least if what for anything to come out of this YouTube, I would like to help other people in the situation that I've been in. And I would like to just discuss grief, to be honest with you, because I couldn't find many videos when I was going through grief to help me through it at the time. I am the youngest of 5, and I was so close with my mum. Didn't live close together, but was so close via text message. And like I said, I was the youngest of 5, and my mum was always the person who held us close together as a family. And she always begged me to have children, and it didn't actually happen for me until 6 years ago. So the week I found out I was pregnant with my 6-year-old, I went to tell my mum, and I said, "Mum, I've got something to tell you." And she told me I've got brain cancer. So my mum had already had breast cancer when I was at high school, a good few years before, and she got the operation, got the operation to stop it coming back. And then, like I say, she started suffering from different symptoms in her back, walking. She started having seizures, what we didn't know was seizures at the time. And she finally got diagnosed with cancer in the lining of her brain. However, my first question was, okay, so what do we do for treatment? But my mum, she lived in a bit of a marriage with my dad where she kept a lot of secrets, because she just felt like it was the best thing to do for keeping the peace. So we never actually had the real story of what was happening within our cancer diagnosis. So as my pregnancy went on, my mum got iller, but we were kept in the dark about how serious this was. For some reason, I think we all went into denial that she wasn't actually going to pass away, and we just thought, well, you've got this, but you can get through this, and you'll meet my son. However, she was in and out of the hospital. She was in and out of hospital throughout my life anyway. So this was something we were kind of used to battling through together as a family. But as my pregnancy progressed, like I say, my mum's condition got worse. We all had the conversation as in siblings of, is mum dying of this? But nobody would tell us the truth. We couldn't just go and speak to her doctors at the time. And then my 6-year-old he came 6 days late. And I kept texting my mum, I kept wanting to phone her, and my dad kept saying, no, she's not well to speak to you. So then when my son came 6 days late, he actually had pneumonia when he was born, so he was in neonatal. My mum still texted away, asked if he was okay, said she was fine. We finally got him home 5 days after that, and then my mum had said, I'm actually going to hospice. And at this point, we were under the illusion that she was getting better, because this is what she told us. And 2 seconds, sorry, my son's shouting on me. Sorry, I'm back. Just as well I got up as well, because the tap was still running that I was filling up the tissue basin with. So where was I? So again, my mum said she was going into the hospice for some care, but she was going to get out, within a week. Silly us, believed that. So I actually remember taking that call, and I think it's an important thing to say when dealing with grief, or this was the first person that was a big person in my life, losing. So when I remember getting a phone call from my sister, I was feeding my son, It was just a difficult baby because he'd colic, wouldn't take a bottle. So we'd been up the full night, and I remember my big sister phoning me and saying, Mum's in the hospice. And because actually I'd already went the day before this to see my mum, to meet her in the hospice. This was the first time I'd seen her in quite a bit. And I remember going in, and she was happy to see Dominic. Tell me I wasn't burping him correctly. She was so aware we were all there. And I remember the last time I seen her that night was eating dinner. Quite the thing, just eating dinner and then a bounty bar. So we went away that night, and we says we'll come back tomorrow. So I drove. We were about an hour and a half away from where she was, but we says we'll come back tomorrow. So then that morning, like the next morning, I was busy trying to burp my son, and then I remember my sister phoned me, and I answered it, and I was like, hello, and she's like, the hospice can't wake Mum up. And I remember at the time just freezing on the phone. I remember Graham was there, my husband, and I remember just hanging up the phone, not saying anything, hanging up the phone, and just started folding towels, because that was my way of coping with getting told potentially Mum was away. And I remember him saying to me, what's wrong? And I'm like, nothing, because that's the type of person I am. I deal with things in a weird way, and I pretend to everybody else that I'm okay, when actually I'm not okay. And eventually I broke down and I said, you can't wake Mum up. So we got everything together and we rushed through, and they did eventually get her out of what we thought was in a coma she went into, sort of thing. And then the next few days we finally got the hospice staff together, and we said, what's going on? Because Mum's not told us that she's dying, she's not told us a thing. All she's told us is she was going to get better, you know. So they finally pulled us into a room, and they said your mum's probably got like a few days. She's probably get told when she get diagnosed, she probably got about 6-7 months, because brain cancer is, you know, pretty much the worst cancer you could get potentially. And well, it's not the worst one, but it's basically, it gives you the less time that you can potentially have for a cancer, depending when it's caught. And my mum's, I think, was caught pretty late. So we had a few days with her, but for some reason I couldn't cry. I just went into mum mode. I had this boy. I was 21 at the time. I had this little boy that was dependent on me. And actually, on top of this, which this is maybe something that me and Graham will do a video on later on if he feels comfortable about it, is Graham actually has bipolar. So on top of losing, you know, on the verge of losing my mum and having Dominic, Graham's bipolar wasn't the best. So he was working at the time, and I was like, can you come and give me a hand? So it actually came that I stayed at the hospice with Dominic, which was a nightmare because he cried all the time as it was. My new mum, but actually for me being the youngest, I turned into the one that sort of kept everybody together, because I was mum. I had to be, you know, I'm mum, I need to be mum to this baby. And I remember even when the night came that my mum was passing away, I still didn't believe that she was passing away. And I think that's one of the things that's the hardest thing to come to terms with when you're getting into grief, is realising what you're feeling. Because for me, I go into a different person, you know. And I remember the night when my mum was finally, you know, we were actually staying in like a wee hut at the time, me, Graham and Dominic, because it was just so much easier. And I remember hearing the footsteps coming of my twin brother to tell me, right, mum's about to go. And I remember running through thinking, I'm not ready for this, you know, I'm just not ready for this. And we all sat around her bed, and she actually, I believe, she waited until all of our grandkids and kids were there before she actually went. And I think for me, I found the part hard was that obviously when somebody is, you know, in palliative care, you're not allowed to, when they're struggling to breathe, you're not allowed to help. You know, you're not allowed to help. She was comfortable, she was out of it. But I think the hardest thing I found was knowing that she knew she was dying and leaving her kids and grandkids behind. Because she was such a good gran. But I remember when she went, I didn't really cry. You know, I went home with Graham and Dominic, just in a mum mode. you know, I never grieved, and even like 6 years on to today, I still can't even say my mum's, my mum's, dead, or, I find it so hard. And I remember people used to say, oh, I feel like picking up the phone and speaking to them, and I used to think, what? Like, surely you must know that they're not here. But actually, I do it quite often. I go to pick up my phone, and I think for anybody else out there that's losing a parent, I don't care. Like, I moved out with my mum's when I was 17 because of my dad, and I became quite an independent person. Wouldn't let anybody in, wouldn't let anybody help me. I did it all myself. And even, I think it doesn't matter what sort of strong person you are, if you lose a parent or a parent figure, it doesn't matter how strong you are as a person, you still feel like somebody's away and you're on your own, and I'm the first to admit, in the 6 years of losing my mum, I have just went into mum mode. I haven't grieved for my mum. I haven't, and sometimes, like, to be honest with you, last week, there was a funeral on, no idea whose, and there was a hearse went by the car when we were in the car, and I just burst out crying. I could not stop crying. Graham had to say to me, go and stand outside the car and have a moment, because the kids are thinking, why is mum crying like that? And honestly, I believe if I couldn't anyway, because we didn't have childcare for my youngest at the time, and obviously I didn't want him away from me, Sorry. I think if I'd just taken the time to just do what people do, grieve for a few weeks on your own, cry, whatever, I think I would have accepted it a lot more. Whereas I'm 6 years on and I don't think I have accepted it. So if I can help tell anybody out there, try your hardest to take your time. Be kind to yourself. If you want to cry all day, you do it, because actually it will save you doing it in 6 years' time. Yeah, you'll still cry, of course, and you won't want to accept it, but 6 years down the line, you won't be thinking, God, is it too late to grieve? Because it's never too late to grieve, and everybody does grieve at a different level and pace and way, and no way is the wrong way. However, I do wish that I'd try to grieve at the time rather than 6 years on, because it's such a hard thing to process, especially a parent. It doesn't matter what you lose, it's all hard, but losing a parent is a different kind of loss, and it makes you feel like you're on your own, even though all of a sudden I'm a parent. I need to take care of this boy, and if anybody wants to jump into my inbox and ask me any questions or tell me anything, I'll be there for you, okay? Because I know how hard I have found it losing my mum, and the people around about you they're going through the same thing. You can't go to them and say how you're feeling, because they're feeling the same. And even to today, I still feel like that. So, I just hope that this video helps people in grief. But thank you so much for watching my video. I know it's a tough video to make and watch, but I hope I can help at least just one person out there. Thanks for watching, guys. Thank you. Bye.